Good evening, everyone. It is now 7 p.m. I will call the Tuesday, April 5th, 2022 Board of Selectmen meeting to order. All three selectmen are present, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from March 11th, 2022. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from March 11th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from March 15th, 2022. Second. Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes?
Good.
All right. Without any further discussion, all in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from March 15th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, I'll make a motion that we approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from March 16th, 2022. Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion on those meeting minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from March 16th, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those motions pass. We have correspondence listed. Is there any other correspondence?
I don't think I have anything either.
Okay, and the only one I have, it actually came to me directly. It's from Halloran and Stage, town attorney. It came in this afternoon late, 5 o'clock, from Ken Slater, which I will share during Selectmen comments. And with that, we'll move on to Selectmen comments.
Teague had their auction on Friday night. They have a heart. I think it was a pretty big success. It was well attended.
Very well.
Yeah. It's a nice time.
Do you know how much they raised?
I don't.
Anybody know?
I did hear it was something like 84,000, I think.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that.
It was a good crowd.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a good crowd.
I will say on Sunday, I attended the Eagle Scout ceremony for Elena Ralph. She was a fine young woman. It was exciting to meet her. I think she's going to do great things in this world. We had also come to understand that she is also the first female Eagle Scout in the district, in this part of the state. So, wow, yeah, she set it her objective. She has 3 other brothers that were Eagle Scouts, and when it opened up that she could join the Scouts BSA, she did, with the intention of becoming an Eagle Scout. So she's quite incredible. And I did want to at least share this letter because it did come in. It was addressed to me, but it's basically to us. Dear Amy, for the purpose of your board meeting, I'm writing in response to William A. Warner's demands and comments. As we discussed after the petition for a town meeting, we opted for me to write Mr. Warner to give him an explanation as to why the board cannot legally call a meeting based on the questions posed in the petition. A copy of that letter is attached. The letter also offered that Mr. Warner contact me to aid him in drafting questions that a town meeting could lawfully adopt. I advised and will continue to advise in the future that your board should not call a town meeting on a question outside the authority of the town meeting, or otherwise it would be illegal. If, by way of an example, a petition was submitted with the question, Shall the town prohibit panhandling in the Sorry, I'll continue. Shall the town prohibit panhandling in the town of Thompson? I would advise the board that it cannot call a special town meeting to consider that question, because panhandling has been decided by the United States Supreme Court to be protected speech under the First Amendment. Similarly, if a question was posed, shall the town prohibit citizens from possessing firearms? I would advise the board that it cannot call a special meeting on that question because the question calls for an action that would clearly violate the Second Amendment. So the fact that the Connecticut General Statutes authorizes a petition to your board to call a meeting and contains the word shall does not entitle petitioners to require that a town meeting be called for an illegal purpose. Questions 2 and 3 on the petition ask that a town meeting be called, among other things, require that the version of the zoning regulations in place in 2007 be adopted. That is clearly an illegal purpose because a town meeting has no authority to adopt of amended zoning regulations because it is outside the authority of a town meeting to take any action with respect to zoning regulations. Your board cannot lawfully call a meeting on a question that would change the operative zoning regulations, regardless of whether the word shall is contained in the petition statute. Question 1 proposes an improper question for a different reason. The town meeting established the Planning and Zoning Commission by way of adopting an existing ordinance. A proper question regarding the modification or repeal of an existing ordinance must be worded to amend or repeal the subject ordinance. The first question in the signed petition does not propose an amendment or repeal of the ordinance establishing the commission, but instead asks that the town simply dissolve the commission. If passed, the existing ordinance would continue to establish the commission, and the decision I'm sorry. I can't say this word.
Perpetuity?
No, it's not perpetuity. It's
Supposedly.
perpetually. Read that.
Oh, if I can even see it.
It's just not coming out
I
right
can't
when I'm
even
trying
see
to.
it. Where I
Can
didn't.
you spell it?
Purportedly. Purportedly. I'm sorry. Dissolving the Planning and Zoning Commission would have no legal effect. So like questions 2 and 3, the question posed does not present a question that the town meeting can take legal action on. For that reason, a meeting cannot be called a town meeting. For that reason, a meeting cannot be called for the town meeting to consider any of the 3 questions, regardless of the existence of the word shall in the petition statute. One aspect of Mr. Warner's email to you, and that I agree with, is the fact that a town meeting can adopt, amend, or repeal ordinances. As noted above, the question posed in the petition does not propose to do that. The draft blank petition that Mr. Warner delivered to after I wrote my letter to him does not correct the defect in question 1. It simply restates the question contained in the prior petition and adds a mere reference to an ordinance. It does not propose amended or repealing that ordinance. I remain open to the discussion with Mr. Warner, the necessary changes to propose a question, petition, a properly called special town meeting. So the question just needs to be restated to repeal or amend the ordinance.
About one.
Yes. And that's all I have. I'm struggling to say a word. All right. Any other selectmen comments? Okay, hearing none, we will open the floor to citizen comment. I do ask, I know there's a lot of people in the room tonight. I just ask that we keep the comments to around 3 minutes. Be respectful of one another and please address the Board of Selectmen when making the comments. I have Jessica Bolte in the virtual audience. Jessica, please just state your name and address.
Jessica Bolte, 1081 Riverside Drive. I just wanted to ask, I'm not sure if my correspondence made it onto the agenda, but because of the supply chain issues that Girl Scouts had this year, I was wondering if we would be able to use the town hall on April 23rd for a drive-through cookie booth from 9 to noon. And if we would be able to use the transfer station again, April 30th from 8 to 2.
Okay,
So what was the second date?
April 30th?
We have time, Jessica, I didn't see that, and I have to have Marie look at the calendar to see what else might actually be on those days. But I can certainly make sure that it's put on our agenda for.
Perfect. That works. Thank you.
Okay, great. That'll be for April 19th.
April 23rd at the town hall and April 30th at the transfer station.
Right, but our meeting,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, our meeting is
Oh,
April.
the April 19th meeting. I gotcha. I'm in the middle of a Girl Scout meeting. We just finished a hike and I'm huffing and puffing, so I apologize.
Okay, thanks, Jess. All right. Nothing, comments virtually or here in the Cine room. If you are in the Cine room, just come close, slightly closer to this echo canceling mic so we can all hear you. Oh.
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. I just want to come and just remind the selectmen and the citizens that are present of the history of the PA 490 open space issue in town. The program was in place and administered consistently for 43 years. A town error was discovered recently and was determined to void the program that had been in place. I also want to remind everyone of what doing the right thing in this instance looks like. Since the error was made by the town, the right thing to do is to restore the program so that it can be administered with the necessary.
And there's an airline that flies.
It can be administered with very clear definitions and in the same fashion and with the same rules that were used for the past 43 years. This is the only action that is right for the citizens of the town and the only action which adequately makes up for the town's error. Please vote to move forward with the recommendations made by the Agriculture Commission and the wording voted and approved on by Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. So James is saying that he couldn't hear you, James Clark. James, can you hear us now? He was typing in the chat. Can everybody virtually? Okay, better, but sort of static, maybe.
There were a lot of problems last night with the.
Was there? Yeah. Well, we have a new system. Hopefully we'll have it in place by tomorrow. Okay, someone said better now. So, okay. Just state your name and address.
Wendell Brand, 108 David Road. I was here at the last selectmen's meeting when you tabled it. Now, words matter. When you change words that's on the pre-existing one and put in your own words, it can change the outcome of certain things by doing that. I mean, not too long ago, Senator Feinstein wanted to make it so people couldn't get the 50 caliber sniper rifle. Well, sounds like a great idea. Proposed bill. Well, they found out if they passed the bill, it would have abolished all 50 caliber, even black powder, because the wording was too generic. What you've got right now has served us very well. You start taking this out and putting this word in and doing this. How is that planning and zoning? Well, we did that because we don't want any slaughterhouses coming into town. I'm like, slaughterhouses? You know, no offense, when you start changing things, words matter. And all of a sudden, you start hurting people. It may not be your intent, or it may be your intent. I don't know. But it really does matter. So carefully think about, because you were talking about changing it, putting your own things in there. And by doing that, you're changing it, which can turn around and make a difference that you didn't really plan on. I mean, commercial property can't go into open space without turning it into commercial property. They can hold 150, 200 acres in open space as long as they're not using it. So, I mean, your intent is to keep commercial properties from being an open space. Well, they can't do it. Your tax guy told you they have to turn around. And if they do it illegally and they get caught, they're in trouble for that. So, I mean, this thing works. Please don't go playing around with it.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, in the virtual audience, has his hand raised.
Thank you very much. Blair Cole, 172 County Home Road in Thompson. And I would like to repeat my comments from the last meeting and request that the board move forward the resolution as it was approved from the prior two committees, and maybe go back and reevaluate the wording at a later date. I think that because this has been on the books in quotation marks for 40 some odd years, that the task would be to just close the book on it and move forward. And I also would have a question and addressed to the entire board, which is, I was wondering if you might shed a little light on your rationale for choosing this time to dig in to this regulation instead of just completing a task that wasn't completed 40 years ago. Why now? I'm just kind of curious. I haven't really heard that.
I mean, I'll answer. This has been brought to us by Planning and Zoning and the Agricultural Commission. So, well, and the assessor, but.
Is my question clear? I mean, why is the board, you know, it's been put forward by two other commissions as is, no changes. Why does the selectmen, Board of Selectmen decide that no, we need to dig into this and do something different? Why not just move it forward the way everybody seems to be? It seems to be fairly unanimous. I'm just curious what the rationale is.
Well, we've yet to talk about it, Mr. Cole, because my fellow selectmen hadn't had a chance to really they're not here for the day-to-day operations, and they hadn't had a chance to dig into all of the details of what was being presented to us. So we will be discussing it tonight, and I'm positive that it will move forward tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, we have somebody in the live audience.
Donna Austin, 1075 Thompson Road. I don't know what the proposed change is on open space. If it's being changed and things that I'm hearing, I would just like consideration to think about a few things. Thompson is big landowners. Thompson is big farm that has come down through generations. Now, if you're proposing to change once we are deceased and our children can't get our land, it's going to be out of open space. A lot of this land is going to have to be sold because they're not going to be able to afford it if it's not in open space. And I know in open space, the government did that so that we could have a lot of land and it not all being used. So I don't know what the wording is yet, because I haven't heard it all. I just ask if you're thinking about taking us out of open space once we are deceased, that is not going to be very good, because then there's going to be a lot of new houses coming in, a lot more families, a lot more children. Then you're going to have to look at building a new school. So, I mean, you got to take all these things into fact. And since we have our open space, I know we're grandfathered in, but it should also be able to be grandfathered in through our children so they can keep our property and not have to sell it because they can't afford the taxes. I pay a lot of taxes now and I have land in open space, so I can't even imagine what I'd have to pay if it's out of open space. It would be a hell of a lot. I know a lot of people who own land too. They own a lot more than I do, and I can't imagine what they would have to do if this all comes about. And I don't know everything that's going on yet, but that just wants consideration of everybody to please be thinking about these and think about all the generations that all this land has been in. And if you do this and take this away from us, there might not be a generation of land anymore.
I'm so sorry that you seem distraught.
Yeah,
And what upsets me is that I don't think there's a single member on this board of selectmen that even said they wanted to change anything.
Yeah, and I didn't say that you did. I'm just saying that's what I heard. And if it is, I want my land, and I know my brother-in-law, he has lots of land, his land was farming, and I don't want all that land from our family for generations to be gone.
No, I agree.
And if you change it where they can't keep it in open space, then my goodness, we're not gonna be able to afford it, because it's a lot now.
No, I agree.
And so I know that, make sure everybody thinks about this when you do all the wording and everything. Like I said, I don't know everything about it, but I just would like everybody to please be thinking about all these things.
Absolutely. And what I tried to do at the last meeting was honor the words.
Yeah.
And I know we're not supposed to go back and forth, and I probably should just table it and save this for when we get into our discussion. But I tried to honor the words that were here from 1979. Because what was missing from what planning and zoning proposed to us was two words: unbuilt or undeveloped.
Right.
And I'll get into it further, but I tried to honor these words. There was nothing else changed.
It is unbuilt and undeveloped, because when we came on to it, our land is unbuilt now. Only my lot is the full one, and then the open space is above. And if you do go to build on it, then you're paying.
Right.
Because I got this thing, if we touch it within 10 years, you're paying that if you touch it. So, you know.
And those are things as we start to write the ordinance that we want to make sure it's clear in the ordinance too, so that, because I had a homeowner company who had applied, got open space, wanted to sell their property, and all of a sudden it was within the 10 years, and they were all of a sudden shell shocked that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay a penalty. So as we get to the point where we write the ordinance, we want to make sure it's clear so people understand that there's
because when we did ours in open space, we got it paid out. What we got to pay for, if you change it out of open space, was every single year of what you would have to pay for the penalty when we did it. And we did ours 5, 6 years ago, about 6 years ago.
Right.
And so that, and I want to make sure, just because we die, that my children can keep it open space. And also I want to know and think about is if I put mine into a trust, because we're getting older, and I don't want it all to be taken from us, that should be able to stay still in open space if it's in the Austin Family Trust. That should be able to stay in open space also.
Yeah, I would
think about that too, because as a lot of people get older, they put a lot of their things in trust, so it's not all taken when they start to get sick. So that might be a consideration you might want to look at too when you're doing all this wording and everything. That's an important thing for a lot of us elderly as we get older. We put our things in trust so it doesn't all be taken away, so our children can have things. So that's just what I want consideration when everybody's thinking about doing all of these things. That you know, it's not really out there yet for a lot of people who have landowners. But if they start finding out that it's going to be taken out and the children aren't gonna, then I think it's going to be a little bit more people here than what you see now. So just please think about these things. I don't know if any of you guys are landowners in open space, but it's important to us who are. Thank you for your consideration.
Absolutely, thank you. Nadine Williams Edwards.
Hi, Nadine Williams Edwards, 131 Spicer. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Thanks. Okay, I would just like to remind the Board of Selectmen to the commentary that was brought forth in the last meeting. And I also heard in the PZC meeting, not the last one, but the one prior, regarding making changes to address the capability or to reduce the gravel mining opportunities to tap into the open space program. I guess what I'd like to say about that is that I'm not sure, what conversations have taken place regarding that, but we know that the 10-year penalty has prevented that from happening. And I just wanted to remind everyone that we do recognize that, and that there's a reason why the gravel miners haven't tapped into it, because it's not advantageous to them. And the opportunity, and I know, and it was being brought forth almost as a justification or another reason why we needed to change language. And I just wanted to remind everyone that that's not the case. It's proven that they're not taking advantage of that. And lastly, I would also like to say that because that was brought up so many times in the conversation here with the PA 490, that our opportunity to make any changes for gravel mining, reducing it, and or addressing gravel mining, we didn't take that opportunity with the reg changes. We actually, in my opinion, made it easier. So I did meet with other town PZC chairmen and had some conversation, and I did share this with everyone previously. Just bringing it up again that, the opportunity to address the gravel mining was with the special permit conversations. So thank you. And I'll just ask that we take that into consideration. We're not looking at gravel mining coming in and taking advantage of this, because it's not happening and it won't happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brenda Romanek, Happy Road. First,
So we can.
first, thank you for your time, but I have to say, this has been a long haul. And part of the frustration on a lot of our parts is the fact that we have to fight so hard simply to get an explanation, to understand why something's being done. And to make it happen is almost impossible, jumping through a million hoops. It should be unnecessary. This was a program that was introduced in 1979. There was nothing wrong with the wording. You cannot take words out just to punish gravel mines or Thompson Speedway. I really just think that a huge mistake was made in the updating of the regs. All right, but we as citizens obviously don't have a right to decide when the regs are changed. That's a big mistake, because we spent a lot of time and money as a town changing those regulations, and you have a group of people representing a bigger group of people that are trying to tell you that many of these regulations have wording in them that is not okay. Hence the butchering thing. I don't know if Tira's online. For example, the butchering thing. Remember Mr. Blackmer said to him last, or he wasn't here, but Mr. Blackmer said, that's been in place since 1943, or of course you can still dress a deer on your property. No, you cannot. Is anyone reading the regulations? Because I have. And read the definition of slaughtering, read the definition of butchering. And what this means is that somebody who shoots a deer can't dress it on their own property. That is just ludicrous, wrong. So, and I did talk to Tira about it, and she's very receptive to saying that that was not so much a mistake, but it was meant to be for commercial use and not personal. But Tira's very careful with almost every word she puts, and I find it hard to believe that that was a mistake. And this town, the culture of this town, traditionally has just been, we're all just a bunch of people that sort of kind of like living low key. Yeah, some of us have a lot of land. You know, I have 92 acres of land. My goal is to preserve that land. I don't want to leave it to anyone. My father wanted it to go back to wildlife the way that it was before he built that pond, and I'm going to try to honor that. So what happens with these open space rules, if you were to change anything, there's going to be some sort of a loophole. Like, for instance, when you change title, you will, like Donna was saying, when you change title, which means you die and it goes to your kids, or you sell it and it goes to someone else. For me to put it in a trust and donate the land, it will then not, it won't qualify according to the previous writing. I think we've eliminated some of that. But once again, we've gone through a really long time of just trying to get things done reasonably. And I think you've seen quite a few intelligent people come through here and fight you for a reason. I hope you recognize that. And, you know, the bottom line is if your kids cannot afford to pay the taxes on your land, they will subdivide, and we will bring in more houses, more kids, just like Donna said. And honestly, I think that that is the underlying intention. And I'm not letting this happen. I mean, I'm going to do what I can to fight this, because we are not a suburb of Worcester. We are Thompson, Connecticut, and I'm proud to live here. But we get wonderful grants, right? But what do we have to agree to do with those grants? Do we have to have low-income housing, Section 8 housing, disabled housing? Like, I would like to see the writing of the grant and what we actually agreed to do to get that money. And lastly, we do need business in this town. All right, we definitely do. I'm 100% for that. But I will tell you this, nobody is going to want to come into this town dealing with the officials that I have had to deal with throughout this process. Some are childish, some are mean, some are vindictive, some are downright uninformed. And maybe they're embarrassed about certain things, but they're screwing up a lot of stuff, whether it's ego or really just not understanding the wording. Some of us have done a lot of research, and I think we should be looked at not so much as troublemakers, but as people who are trying to maintain the integrity of this town. The whole chicken thing, so stupid, right? Do you need a permit to get 10 chickens? No. Bill was wrong, right, Bill? You admitted it. But you need a $100 permit to get the coop. So the bottom line is, you spent time looking into that. Tara spent time looking into it. She got a million phone calls out. And the bottom line is, you need to pay $100 for the coop. That is how all the regulations are written. Leaves room open for some, just for things to be slid in under the rug. And I don't think that we should be doing that. I think we should try to maintain the integrity of our town, which is a great place, and also attract businesses, which is very important, because we are dying as a town without businesses, but we're not very friendly. Our town officials are not very friendly from what I'm finding. So it's almost like you want to punish the people that are asking for you to, not you, but in general. You're punishing the people calling us troublemakers that are trying to advocate to change things back. You know, we're not asking you to change anything. We're asking you to change it back. Same with the regs. I mean, legally we cannot do that. But I'm not going to rest until those regulations are revisited. It's 150 pages, guys, and it's painstaking. There are people that are taking their time to do this, putting side by side the old reg and the new. And once that's done, and if it's published to the town, then more people will come forward. Just people don't understand, you know, they don't really know. They don't know. And one last thing, same with the shooting regs. You see how that happened. Okay, the shooting regs was a big deal. 500-600 people came out. That was great support. Those are the same people that came out and vote for the write-in candidates. Let's not talk about the election, but, yeah. Okay, we got a couple of write-in candidates. That was a miracle that happened. And they're working really hard to try and get things back to the way they were, while still bringing business into town. But the example of the shooting range is, everybody left that meeting thinking that we were all set. Oh, we're all set, because everybody on the board voted no. Well, does anybody remember the word prejudice? Okay, one thing, I ran down the steps and asked about the word, why didn't you vote it down with prejudice? Because I wasn't really sure. That was the key there. Means they can revisit. They can revisit that at any time they want. Yes, so the bottom line is, that is the kind of stuff that is bringing people like me out. Am I crazy? Maybe a little, but, well, you know, the bottom line is, I'm gonna fight for what I believe is right. I'm gonna fight for other people. Like I told you before, I don't need the money that comes from the taxes. I'll just pay the taxes if you want to take me out of open space. But I'm worried about not being able to preserve it. I'm worried about other people who might not be able to afford their taxes, so their kids can't. What are we gonna make, what are you trying to make this town into? And by the way, Amy, I know I've gone over my 3 minutes, but I'm starting to realize that all of our regulations that got changed, you know, they're like cut and pasted for other towns. WTF, like, why would we do that? You know, we insert these things into our regulations. You know, we're not Newtown, Connecticut. We're not even Ashford, Connecticut. We're Thompson, Connecticut. And I really do think that you have to make more of an effort to involve people. It's not good enough to just say we put it on the website. If I had my way, we would go back to the way it was 100 years ago. 3 places in town, there'd be 3 billboards, and everything would be announced on those billboards. And people would know where to go, know what was happening. We don't do anything to communicate. And then we're told the citizens are not interested. They're not interested because they're kept in the dark. You guys, all the boards, they do, what they do is they do everything they can to just stay right under the radar, but cover themselves. I just hope more people, you guys will tell this story, tell our story, and know that this is not against any one individual. It is simply that something is broken. Either the egos are in the way, whatever it is. We just want to get it back to the way it was and then maybe revisit it. That's what we were trying to do. And I would hope you would understand that. And so same with the open space and the regulations alike. That's what it's about.
All right. Mary Eames.
My name is Mary Eames. I own land on Lowell Davis Road. I haven't been involved in politics for years because I've been pretty quiet. I've been running around fire department. But and other things. But the thing that really puzzles me, and I don't understand, and I haven't found it yet, whenever we needed a change in zoning, it was proposed at a town meeting, and we had a say, and we had a vote. But we haven't had that, and I don't know why. Can you explain? I know we elected commissioners, and I know we hired people. Can they simply make up these things and make them a law, and we have to live with them? Is that now the law? That's my big question. I really want to know, because I think it worked really well when they brought it up and said, this is the current, this is what we want to change it to. What are you saying? What do we do? Vote on it. And that's important. And the reason people aren't informed, not everybody's hooked into the internet. And God bless her, she was right about those damn big billboards. one down on the corner of, the Babula Road and Thompson Road. And, you know, and the people in East Thompson would go there and find out, okay, there's a meeting here, there's a meeting there. Not everybody's hooked in through the internet. I am, but not everybody else is. And even I don't know everything that's going on. So I want to know, what's the procedure? Do we have absolutely no say when there's a change? And why is it that way? And why can't we have the say?
State your name and address.
On Wood Hill Road, I wasn't going to speak on this matter, but I got a lot of property in 492. And that should be left alone. It's always been that way, it should be left alone. And I looked at a lot of these new regulations that they passed in the dark of the night, really. Because I went on Zoom and I looked at some of the meetings, the way they sit up there and nonchalantly talk about things and not research anything. This chicken thing and slaughtering thing is absolutely ridiculous when you read that. You can kill chickens and turkeys on your own property and sell them under a custom kill. And you're telling me in town of Thompson now that I can't. Who come up with that idea? And this Kara, I've sat down with her a few times, and I can tell you, she's a snake, as far as I'm concerned, when I'm talking to her. She's giving me a history lesson on town of Thompson. I've lived here my whole life. I built my house in Thompson, delivered my new house, and I'm thinking about adding on to it another 20 feet, so I can get my entranceway and everything in the town of Putnam, so I can get out of this town. Because you should not be sneaking things by everybody like that. It's time. I used to go to a lot of these board meetings years back, and I've seen nothing like I've seen in the last 3 months at these, when people are up talking, being interrupted by people on the boards because they don't like what they're saying. They don't have to like what someone's saying. And I put something in the form of a question. You got your guy on the zoning board telling me I can't ask a question. You don't have to answer my question. I'll answer it for you because I already knew the answer. It's time to repeal a lot of this stuff and get it off the book.
Thank you.
Little Brian, 108 Paving Road. I was at the planning zoning. I haven't been going, but I've started going. I was there sitting there and I watched people get told at the last meeting that they weren't allowed to speak. And they got told why. They don't have a right. Us taxpayers don't have any right to speak except as citizen comment. So if you guys bring up something and do something, we can't speak. No offense, but as taxpayers, I would think we're the ones that should be telling you what we want. And you should be doing what we want, not what somebody you hired. Because you know what? Obviously, you guys got a bigger scheme going on than we know, because you guys ran for first election, you ran to be second. You won in November. There ain't a problem. But why do you want to have a town administrator? Did you tell anybody before you were running that you were going to do a town administrator? No, you didn't. But 2 years ago, you talked about it. Your husband talked about it. Herbert talked about it. Stephen Herbert talked about it. You guys all talked about it. You had this big scheme to turn around, cut the first selectman out of it, make it so that he's only responsible to 2 selectmen and not the townspeople. The town administrator would not be the town administrator would only be responsible to 2 selectmen, whoever is in charge. If you got 2 Republicans or 2 Democrats, it only has to keep them happy. He doesn't have to keep us happy to keep his job. He keeps you happy. He does whatever you guys want. He's going to be your hatchet man against us. And you know what? No offense. I don't think that's what people want. We don't need a hatchet man to come in and beat us up. We don't. I mean, we don't need to be going to a town meeting and being told we don't have a right to speak. Really and truly. I mean, now you turn around, Blackmare at the last meeting, he voted for his grandson to get the thing. He didn't have to vote. He had it already, everybody else had unanimously voted to give him the right to do that thing. Blackmare should have abstained. But yet, in that same meeting, I watched, I think it was 5 abstained because they hadn't been at that meeting for the minutes of the meeting. Why would they abstain for that and not on something that was being proposed? Shouldn't they have? If it's your grandson, should you be voting on it? I don't think so. I kind of don't think so. I think you should say, okay, I'm going to stay out of this one. I mean, he did announce, say he was his grandson. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to vote for him. I was there. You know, the kid had it already. There was no reason for him to be voting that way. It was just a stupid vote. But it's kind of like throwing things in people's face when another guy turns around on the board and says, you don't have a right to talk to me. You don't have a right to question me. I don't know. Oh, by the way, the minutes of the meeting, we were told at that meeting, well, you have to be a yes vote or no vote. We don't have to keep an accurate record. When did that happen? Why do we keep a person writing down the minutes of the meeting if they don't have to be honest? They're like, oh, the FOI says we don't have to have it. So why should we? So they edit the minutes of the meeting however they want it. Does that seem right to you? I'm not sure. But I would have thought the minutes of the meeting should be an accurate account of the meeting. I saw you trying to figure out how to get the minutes of the meeting at the last meeting straight. There was a thing about the minutes of the meeting at the last meeting. You would question, and you kind of worked around trying to figure out how to get it straightened out. That's all.
Thank you. Donna Austin, 75 Thompson Road. My husband and I were the ones he's speaking about at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We wanted to make a comment, we were told we could. So then the next month, at the next meeting, it was brought up, why couldn't they speak? And our friend said, we don't care what the citizens have to say. Now, it was brought up at the zoning board meeting the other day that that was not in the minutes of the meeting. It was brought up by one of the board members. And they said, who's taking the minutes of the meeting? And why was that not in there of what our friend said? That he does not care what the citizens have to say. So I just wanted you to know that it was mine and my husband when we tried to say something and we were denied. And I also spoke at the meeting saying, if you come to that point where you don't care what citizens have to say, that means you're being self-serving. And when you get to that point, you shouldn't be on a board no more. Because when everybody goes on a board, I'm on board, plenty of boards. And when you go on a board, you go on for the goodness of the town and what is to be happened. And when you get to self-serving, that's when you should be off the board.
Al Landry, 33 Randolph. Just want to say we're hearing a lot of talk about planning and zoning. They are elected officials. These people have nothing to say to them. Your complaint should be going to planning and zoning.
Oh, it is. It was.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Shouldn't the selectmen know what's going on in their own town?
They can,
They
but
should know what's going on
I
in their own
think
town.
I have the floor.
Yes, you should.
I hear that you're going to be reading what your new plan for open space is. Is there going to be time for comment after that or not?
Technically, it's supposed to just be during,
All right.
after we have a second citizen's comment, but before then. Now.
I have a problem with gravel banks that they should not be included in open space. Before they're a gravel bank, yes. After they're reclaimed, yes. Not while they're an active gravel. And same thing with solar fields. Where those arrays are, that should not be open space. If they have 3 acres on the side of it, yes, but not where there's man-made, whatever, construction, whatever. And I hope that's not going to be in there because I don't think citizens ought to be bailing out companies. And I know there's one that's under it now, and that's not going to change. All right, thank you.
Thank you. The floor is still open. All right, we will move on to the agenda. Agenda item 7, Recreation Commission, request to reduce the number of members. This is a letter that came in from Brian Levency, our Recreation Director. Currently, the ordinance states that they have 9 members. He would like to, there's been 2 members, 2 vacancies. Currently, there's 3, but there had been 2 vacancies since Brian took on the Recreation Director position. They have a very terrible time meeting quorum. So they are requesting that we put it on the agenda for town meeting to reduce the number of members appointed from 9 to 7. So this is an appointed position, as we know. So open for thoughts.
We've done it with the EDC in the
Right.
past, a couple of other commissions. You know,
It would go
they
to
need to be able to conduct their business.
Right.
And it'd be nice if we could fill all 9 seats, but, you know, it gives the option. You know, there's also the possibility of, what we've done in the past with some others, is you add alternate members, you know, where you keep your, instead of 9 having 5, you have 7, which is
But you
4.
can't get the 9.
Right, you can't get, yeah.
Well, no, but you put an alternate on, 'cause that may pop up at some point in time. But it's,
I see where you're going with that.
you know, it's a possibility, it's a way of.
So are you thinking 7?
Oh, I
And then have
definitely
2
reduce it
alternates?
to 7,
Right.
but if, you know, and you could put in, you know, possible a couple of alternates. This has to be done at a town
Right.
meeting. We're still looking at the 490 to do a town meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and
I mean, if this is their request, I can understand if they cannot get volunteers, because apparently people don't want to serve on the rec commission, then I'm put it to town meeting.
So it would just be
Change the
amending
ordinance.
amending the ordinance.
Yes,
just reducing it from 9 to 7.
Shall we?
I think we have to vote on it
Yep.
to send to,
Mhm.
but we have to have a rewritten ordinance or amended ordinance.
Oh, so maybe we'll
before we
work on
can-
that first.
Yeah,
We do have an ordinance committee. I mean, Al Landry
Yeah.
was on it from way back when.
So
I think you addressed that back in the day, Al. if I
Yeah,
remember.
we know that's something like that.
Pretty simple, straightforward.
Ordinance is only advisory.
Right.
You guys could do it right here, right?
Okay.
oh, thank you.
But if
So-
you
I
go
mean,
back,
we could make the recommendation, but it's still gotta go to you to
Yeah.
further discuss.
if you go
Well, if we're
back,
just reducing it to 7, then that's
If
a
the wording is
simple,
not gonna change, then the number is the only thing that's gonna change.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or do you want me to rewrite it and have it to present?
if you look back through past
With the 7.
town meetings,
Mhm.
we did in the last 4, 5, 6 years. I can't remember which one, might have been EDC, that we have reduced it.
Right, I thought it was in the wetlands.
And it could have been that
Might have
one.
been that one.
There's a couple that we
Yeah.
have reduced it. If you look back through the ordinance stuff with Renee, the
Mhm.
language is there,
Right,
and we can reduce that and propose that at the town.
right.
As long, if you wanted to have it rewritten, change the number and have it presented
So
for
we
the
can
next
read it.
meeting,
Yeah.
then that would.
And then we'll do the vote at that point.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
But you're gonna see that in the town warrant when we went to town
Right,
meeting,
right.
how that was
Right.
proposed. Renee should have all of that, or it's in.
Yeah, well,
the
typically it
selectmen's
just says
office.
amendment of ordinance blah. And then the copy is kept in the copy of the actual amended ordinance is kept at the town clerks for people to view. So,
There's records of what we've
Yeah.
done.
yeah, okay.
It's straightforward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this one I wouldn't worry about at all.
No,
So, all right, so I'll work on that and we'll do the vote at the next.
Yeah, get it put together, and that's our consensus. Get it put together as the wishes. It's gonna allow them to do business,
Yeah.
is what we should do. And we can amend an ordinance at, basically any time in the future, whenever we have a town meeting. So
Right.
if we want to add alternates, do whatever,
it can be amended.
we can amend it.
All right. All right, agenda item 8, Community Fire Department, request for a boot drive. the transfer station, April
Now,
23rd.
what did Jess ask for,
She wanted to have something at town hall
on the 20th?
on the 23rd.
I
and the
didn't
transfer
remember
station on
which
the
one it
30th.
was.
So, yeah,
Is, I'll make a motion to approve the community for request for food drive at the transfer station on April 23rd, as long as there is no conflicting anything else.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do we know if there's anything conflicting?
No, there's not. I think initially they had requested April 9th and Marie had contacted them to say it wasn't available. And she revised it with Sandy to April 23rd because that's what was available.
Okay.
So. Okay, so a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor of approving the request for a boot drive at the transfer station from Community Fire Department on April 23rd, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, agenda item 9. Quinnipiac Fire Department request for funding. Sent you a copy, is that right? Really sent you a copy. Quinnipiac is requesting money from the ARPA funds. As we know, back in August, we had appropriated all of those funds. So at this time, they're all tagged. Right. And some of the funds are being used for a matching grant that we haven't heard back on yet. So being specific and asking from the ARPA funds, if it were to say from the town of Thompson, we could send it off to the Board of Finance. Am I correct?
What do you mean, ask them to take it out of the general fund?
Ask them to appropriate funding. That's what we've done in the past for requests from the Board of, from Fire Department. Because we can't approve it.
Well, right now, we don't have.
Right now, we don't have any ARPA funds,
until
Right, that's what I'm
because-
saying.
That are freed up at this second.
And potentially, is there, depending on what, if Tara gets the matching grant, will there be some that frees up potentially? But I won't know until.
I mean, I have no.
This was something that, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I have no problem helping out
I
our
know.
fire departments with the ARPA funding by any means, and we had talked about that in the past.
Mhm.
When we were allocating the cost. If we did that vote to get matching grants and so forth, if money becomes available.
Right.
Then we should look to, to help.
Can I ask Steve a question?
Yeah.
I think that I had asked Tara to meet with the fire department.
We've been working on trying to get a date.
Scheduling conference.
There's been, yeah,
But it was specifically for this kind of
It was for grants.
apparatus, wasn't
for
it?
grants in
For
general.
grant funding. So that hasn't happened yet, right?
No, it hasn't been scheduled.
No. We haven't been able to get all 5 chiefs.
It wasn't our intention to ask the town for money. We've never asked the town for money.
Never.
Because if there's possibly money available, that is what we are asking for. We've never, like I said, we've never asked, we've been upfront with we've been totally transparent. We've never hidden anything. And we're just looking to replace our SCBA. And that's the total cost of the SCBA and a RIT pack, which is for firefighter rescue.
So I would like to figure out a way that we can work with you to either find some grant funding,
fine.
even if we meet, with you outside of all the chiefs, you know what I mean? For grant
It is.
funding, or if we work with some matching funding or something.
The problem with the grants is they can take up to a year.
True.
Our SCBA are becoming no longer NFPA compliant as far as age wise. So we're actually putting firefighters at risk for having antiquated breathing apparatus. So I wasn't sure if the whole premise was if there is money available, then we are requesting that sum that we have on there.
Steve, do you happen to know, how are the other departments with theirs and whether or not they're antiquated too?
With their SCBA,
I mean, is it,
I know that
is it all the stations that are having?
I know that East Boston, I believe it was a few years ago, they bought SCBA, took out a loan. And I believe that was 180-something thousand.
It was
Yeah,
East Thompson.
East Thompson. Thompson Hill, they're in the same boat as us.
I think it's in, if you remember in their budget, it was there.
Right.
The
We actually
purchase.
tried to piggyback what we were ordering and then with them, so they would get a better price. I believe community is, I'm not sure if all of their SCV are the same vintage, so to speak. But I know they are actually looking for, they're looking into quotes for SCBA.
What, I'm trying to remember the grant we get through the federal. I can't remember that grant.
Firefighter grant?
Firefighter grant,
I don't think that's even live.
It is, but that can take, I mean, that's
it's very,
a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And we need these yesterday.
That's why I said it's
not
live.
no, I'm just thinking, you know, because.
So we're all for grants, and then on the fire advisory committee and some of the, not complaints, but concerns, were that we never had someone looking for grants for the fire service. You know, every time Chief Sharp speaks, he always just kind of pounds it home that, you know, we actually do this on our off hours of work. You know, so for me to go, I mean, there are grants out there, but Ken, you know, you did grants.
I've read them
about
with-
fire. You know, the time and effort it takes.
Well, we know we've been having a problem getting all 5 chiefs in a room, but maybe we can make arrangements to get one at a time.
I can,
And whatever
get the
your
cones
hours
right
are.
now, we can have all 5 people in the
If you want.
Put a page out.
I mean, to sit down with you and really talk about what your needs are.
Well, okay, so last week, Matt was on vacation, I worked nights, so,
Right. Well, at the end, I think he's going on vacation the end of April, that's what we were shooting for. I was shooting for April 28th. And, he was on vacation that week.
yeah,
And the other chiefs, and you had to work.
Yes.
And the other chiefs wanted to wait to be together all at the same time.
yeah, which I
In the
appreciate that.
conversation, right. But yet, as long as we compile what your needs are, and then we could come up with some type of strategy potentially.
Yeah.
Would be my thought.
What we're running into right now, it's just time. I
Yeah,
can't wait 2 years to
right.
replace the SUVA because, it's just, it should, I don't want to say it's non-compliant now, but it's getting dangerously close.
Mhm.
You know, they're still gonna work, but God forbid something happens.
Right.
It's been an ongoing problem for forever.
Yeah, absolutely, but
I mean,
the prices that we
keep
have to
going
deal
up.
with now are
Right.
unbelievable.
I mean, the town has done okay with the firefighting grant, and I'm going back 10, 15 years when that first came out.
Ken, you could go back 40 years.
Yeah, I know, but that's besides the point. But I mean, when that firefighter grant came out,
It helped a lot.
it helped out a lot of the departments in town. You know, one of the biggest things is, you know, we had gotten the radios, what was it, American Ambulance or whoever
Sterling Fire Department.
had put that together. We all got the TAC radio
Right.
and stuff, you know, throughout, which was a grant for the greater, for the whole.
Do you remember what the total of that grant was?
Oh, that was, God, a long time ago, that we had gotten that.
They were still using those radios.
Yeah, but it comes back to,
I just want
Yeah,
to make it clear, I appreciate what you said about bringing it to the Board of Finance, but that's not our intention.
Okay,
We never asked for extra money, and we won't. But we just figured, okay, keep this in mind, if you have money available, we asked for it first. It's kind of like that, you know? But, so that's basically.
But this seemed to be something that the other departments were looking at too.
Yes.
That and radios, if I remember correctly.
Well,
Or
so
there's always communication issues.
if
the
we
iPad.
get the funding for this, we will have
funds to get newer radios, because we could also use newer radios. But not if we have to pay for these.
No, when they apply for these grants, their plan is a small department, they want to see department still. So their chances are less likely to get it.
That's why I was hoping we could get together and
Yeah, that's
apply
part of
as,
the discussion that will happen with Ira, with the other chiefs.
Right.
You know, we can pull the resources and put in a grant for the town of Thompson,
exactly.
supplementing 5 departments.
It's strength in numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
Steve, is everybody using the same Scott air packs?
No.
You know, because that becomes, with the departments, it would be great if we all used it.
Yeah.
So if you're on East Thompson's truck, West Thompson's truck, Quinnebog's, Thompson Hill, Community,
They're
it's
not
the
the same
same,
brands, but they're compatible.
but it's the same pack.
Well,
Well, you know what I'm saying? So that way,
I just want to make sure everyone else does too. The air packs, they're compatible with, like, bottles can be interchanged, but the design is different. And with that RIP pack, that is specifically for, I mean, you can have you can adapt it for other masks, but and that would be like a down firefighter running out of there. What we would do is actually take his mask off, put on a mask on that we have with our pack, and buy him time.
but if we could get all on the same page as the same.
No,
I would say that would be ideal, same pack, everybody's interchangeable.
Right.
When you go out to bid, it's from one vendor, it's the same, and you get
That's
better.
how it was. That's how it was in the past. We all had stock. But what happens is, you know, a group of officers like this, as opposed to this, you know, turnout gear is the same way. You know, I wouldn't, you know, we spec gear for the way we want to have it, and, you know, we don't all have the same turnout gear. So for a mass purchase of that would be difficult also.
Everybody has their preference in
Yeah.
turnout gear.
So I guess we don't have an actual answer for you, other than
Not
put your
unless
name
you
in
have office funds available right now.
Not at this time. but,
That is the time that certainly would become a priority.
But yeah, if we can somehow make this a priority to try to look into how we can help them.
Right.
And the other departments.
Well, and then as we start to get all the numbers for the other projects too.
Yeah.
Hoping building material goes down, maybe there'll be a little extra. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, agenda item 10, new hires. I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen endorse the hiring of William Steglitz for Finance Director and Troy Spizzato, DPW Director.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion on these two new hires?
I'm excited to have them both.
I know.
I'll just ask a question. You got your chance, Bill. Walk away.
All right, so all in favor of endorsing the two new hires, William Steglitz for Finance Director and Troy Spizzato, DPW Director, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now with that, appointment. I make a motion for the following appointments. William Steglitz for Town Treasurer, Tom Angelo, Building Committee. Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on these two appointees?
No, not for me.
Right, hearing none, all in favor of appointing William Steglitz as Town Treasurer and Tom Angelo to the Building Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, and I should note, Jotty, for the record, William Steglitz, his term, he's completing the unexpired term of Orla, McCarran and Raftery, to expire November 21st, 2023. And Tom Angelo is serving to fill the unexpired term of Paul Provost, term to end November 15th, 2023.
You can pass them along.
Now on to the topic of the evening. Agenda item 12, open space requirements. I had received from Joe Nichols, trying to find it here, lovely, informative brochure from the Connecticut Farm Bureau, which was excellent. I had asked Joan to weigh in on the topic for me, possibly coming into the meeting as Valerie had requested. I'm just trying to find so much here. I tried to do a lot of research that I understood it completely. And I did receive word back from Joan, who regrettably decided that she could not weigh in and that I should seek town council. She said the topic had become too controversial and that any questions I have, I should send to our town attorney. Which was much to my dismay, because I really hoped. So instead, I went in, I was in the meeting in January, but I went back through just so that I could review what was said by everybody. And unequivocally, people that spoke said that the language stayed the same as the vote taken in 1979. Language as originally written, codify what was presented in 1979, 3 acres of undeveloped land. Those were some of the comments that were made. Joe Nichols said, and I made sure that I listened to it several times so I captured exactly what she said verbatim. The tighter the ordinance is, the more clearly defined the criteria is, the better off you are, speaking about the town. She did mention that open space is a municipal option. Currently, there are 30 towns in the state that take advantage of open space, PA 490. She did also state that the Connecticut statute doesn't go into particulars as to what defines open space, nor does it give a formula for valuation. I thought this brochure was interesting because it discussed the role of the assessor. It discussed the procedure for coming, to a criteria. And I think what stood out to me most was PA 490 provides for 4 major types of land use classification: farmland, forest land, open space, and maritime heritage, which obviously doesn't affect us. Land classified under PA 490 as farm, forest, open space, or maritime heritage is assessed based on the current use value of the land. Like that wasn't this one. Here we are. 490 for open space. The criteria establishes the criteria, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, or what we're trying to decide tonight, establishes the minimum acreage as well as requiring that the land be completely unimproved and undeveloped. This is according to Connecticut Farm Bureau again. This is page 18.
Yeah.
Only landowners who have property in an area that has been designated as open space on the town's plan of conservation and development may be eligible for the PA 490 open space classification. Landowners interested in this classification should consult their town planner, land use office, or assessor with regard to the status of open space. So I know there was some question about the town planner being involved, but the town planner, according to Connecticut Farm Bureau, is specifically referenced as being the go-to person to consult with. I mean, I would like to see the word, and technically what I proposed at the last meeting was basically sticking to what was in 1979. I thought I sent that to you guys.
You did, okay, I just wanted to make
No,
sure.
but read it. If you
No,
wanna make
I do,
sure.
I have a copy right here.
Oh,
I
okay.
just wanted to make sure, this was the only thing they put forth.
This was, well, that was, yeah, it's sort of. So. I just think it's important that, I mean, Joan said, the tighter the ordinance, and we're not talking the ordinance, we're just talking criteria right now. So, but if we're gonna base criteria off of 1979, there's just two words that I think should be put in, unbuilt and or undeveloped.
That is the 1979 one. And you're adding to, now this is what the P and Z proposed,
I have that,
correct?
yes.
And this is what we're proposing, what you're proposing.
I've changed it since then because
Okay,
there was,
so that's
there
the
was,
updated one, 'cause this is
yeah, well,
mine.
this is what I was kind of thinking now. After speaking with Joan, not speaking with Joan, after watching the video with Joan, after talking to the attorney as she had advised me to do.
Is this the same?
Yeah, it's a thing, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
3 copies.
I got it.
You have a different one?
Yeah, two, same.
Okay.
So the PZ, what planning and zoning had referenced and ag commission was just missing undeveloped and unbuilt. So I'm,
Could you read it, Amy?
sure. So I will
So
read,
this is
No.
P and Z, this is.
planning and zoning commission had
Oh,
presented,
want to give it.
land in all zoning districts of Thompson is eligible for consideration.
They, P and Z.
I have that in what I'm proposing. The minimum area eligible for classification as open space shall be 3 acres of vacant or undeveloped land as described below. I have that in this definition, it's exactly the same. In the town of Thompson, the following land types shall be eligible for open space classification, and that's where we go into some criteria. So it says here, any acreage within a parcel which does not contain a residential dwelling or commercial building. I took out because of what's stated in one of the others. So that, I took out on the planning and zoning side. If you look at the planning and zoning one, that first bullet point, any acreage within a parcel which does not contain a residential dwelling or commercial building, because it is referenced further down. What I added instead was land meeting the minimum acreage, which is the 3 acres, the minimum acreage threshold, which is completely unimproved or undeveloped. I pulled that from the Connecticut Farm Bureau, but I'm happy to just put unbuilt or undeveloped, which is the 1979 link. So then it was in cases where a parcel includes portions containing a residential dwelling, I kept that the same. That's all the same. So it would go over, so the land containing the residential dwelling would be at least a building lot, but the excess would be 3 acres. So that I kept the same in what I'm proposing that we consider.
Those words?
It's the same thing as planning and zoning. Do you want me to copy? No.
Well, when you say planning and zoning, I
Well,
thought
the
this
one
was
that-
Valerie's.
This is Valerie. This is what Agricultural Commission is presenting to us. This is what planning and zoning.
Okay, so this is what we have put forward in front of us.
This is what
from
they're
the-
requesting, yes,
The previous board,
yes.
okay.
I'm just explaining what I
And
did.
please continue so that,
I added forest land in. But I also question whether, well, I mean, we want the criteria to be specific, but there was a question about people who have forest land that is not otherwise eligible for forest land classification, which is parcels less than 25 acres, because or parcels which are not certified by state forester. Some people opt not to pay.
so if you didn't add that in, they wouldn't come in under the open space?
No, they should still. I mean, I think Paul here still. No. Oh, Paul, you are that. Because I question the redundancy of having that in. If someone has forest land, they don't want to get a state forester to come in and determine that it's definite. It would still, as long as it can still be open space if it's forest land.
I hope so.
If it's written that way,
So do you think it should just for the, like Joan said, the tighter the criteria, the better off we are, so there's no question with future assessors or in the future?
Right, if you want to leave that option available to people, whether they go forest or open space, you should probably delineate that when you're doing your writing, so that way it's clear.
Clear.
Right.
You can make the choice between the two programs.
Right, okay. So, and then the only thing that I pulled out, because after I tried to get Joan to weigh in on it, if you look on the Planning and Zoning Commission, the one that came up to us for approval, that last bullet point, open space shall not include residential dwellings or commercial buildings, which is, it's repeating itself again. Land containing other structures such as outbuildings or those that support recreation or agricultural use shall be included in open space. It was determined, I couldn't get Joan to weigh in on it, but the attorney said that both Mike Collins and Rich Roberts stated that, that it would be confusing. It really doesn't belong in the open space in general.
So yours is least restrictive.
Well, mine follows 1979.
And it follows 1979 very, very closely. I will give, yeah.
Was my thought behind it.
Well, you want to stick with this and square that up without a problem. There's a separate program for forest land, Paul?
And that's a state requirement.
Right.
But some people don't want to pay the forester to come and certify the land.
No, but then it's just classified as open space.
Right, exactly.
The forest land, which is not otherwise eligible for forest land, you don't even need that in there.
You're probably right.
It isn't needed in there,
But
because it's either it's open space or it's forest land. Forest land has its own requirements. Same thing, you know, with the
Okay.
490 on the farm aspect.
You want to, because the more we strip it down, the more it's like
Open
1979.
space is open space.
I get it, what Paul's saying, it clarifies it, makes it clear. But it wasn't in the first one, right? Was
No.
it in the original one?
Right. Again, if we want to stick as closely to that
You want to
original
stay
one.
as close to that as possible.
Mhm.
How should we just stay with it? Why don't we just stay with
Just
it?
stay with, you know,
And why do we have to change it?
we have a definition already in P and Z and a
Right.
town definition, so we don't have to create a definition. But developed, undeveloped.
Let me just see. That's on the piece of paper in front of me.
I mean, Paul, from our conversation, they apply through you and you go out and assess the property, correct?
So I would go out and assess the property as per the guidance of what, in this case, open space would be for forest. The forest is done by the forester and the farm is done by.
No, but what I'm saying is when you're looking at developed, undeveloped, I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Right,
You don't have to spell out, he's got an outhouse, it's developed.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to get all of that. It's either developed or it's undeveloped. And it goes through. And that's basically, you know, unbuilt or undeveloped.
So let's pull out the forest. I mean, do we want to pull out the forest land description and just keep it with those two? All right. I mean, if we get rid of that, that's even
then that's
closer.
even closer. So can I just say that we are tasked with sending this on to a town meeting.
This is just,
And this is not, and this has gone from the ag board,
Through P
the
and Z.
ag commission, where they tweaked and done their thing, and then it goes to P and Z, and then it is our job to
I know that this
to
first
make
piece,
it as close to, or as presentable to represent the entire town of Thompson.
right,
For the last-
right. This first piece
So,
is only for plan of conservation and development. And then we draft the ordinance, which
right,
is the next task.
right, we don't,
Yeah, we'll work with the ordinance review committee.
right, and hopefully they will.
Yeah.
Okay,
But the ordinance is going to be built on this as it says.
Yeah, right.
And And there's language to write an ordinance in order to propose it. to get
Yeah,
passed.
yeah,
I would
absolutely.
Go with the original intent. We've been doing it since '79, whenever it went into. It's upholding what was there. It's the town's oversight that they never took it a step further.
Exactly, and so.
And it's completing the process.
It is, and in '79, it looks like they did it, I've read this as well, which is a good guidance for anyone who hasn't seen it, which gives you the definition of what we're supposed to be doing here, or putting forward, and I think what we have compiled between the three boards, or commissions, is pretty close to what this ordinance was written originally, and what the intent of what 490 is. I do.
So
So,
it's meeting the 3 acres
yep,
of vacant or undeveloped land. Unbuilt, undeveloped. That's what 1979 said. And the minimum 3 acres. Those are
Yeah,
the
'cause
two,
we
the
have-
two,
we
the
have-
2 points,
We have the, what they wrote,
right,
and then they made a motion to set the minimum.
right.
That's the part that's just gotta be written into the ordinance, a little different than they made a motion for, setting the minimum requirements.
Right.
Just to word it in.
And I am,
and
I mean,
draft it in.
I'm pretty solid with hoping that they'll put a caveat in the ordinance about the statute and the 10-year timeframe that you have to keep it in. I just would hate to see another resident be blindsided with that. So,
So it's all based on public act, isn't it? And its related statutes.
Mhm.
That may have to be written into the ordinance where it's
Yeah.
reflecting in a certain language.
The
how to
term.
do that.
yeah.
That's how we base it.
I got a question for Mr. Rice. Or Tara, one of you. Does this, once we do this, it has to go back to planning and zoning to approve the plan of conservation and development change, right? Whatever we do tonight goes back to be implemented into the plan of conservation and development. Okay. All right. And then it'll go to town meeting with an ordinance. Okay. I wanted to make sure I was clear on that. I thought I was.
okay,
So we just need to draft the ordinance with the appropriate public act reference, the statutes that are according to it. The minimum 3 acres, write it in,
Right.
get it back to us, we'll relook at it.
For the ordinance,
And then send it
Correct.
out for,
town
as
meeting.
it is.
We'll get to work on that right away.
so I'm okay with this. Do we have to vote
I
on
think we
this?
have to vote on it, send it back.
Okay.
As presented.
Okay, Well,
Should I read it as
with the amendment.
with the amendment of the forest plan? Eliminating, it wasn't in what was presented to us anyways, the elimination of the forest land, which got added in.
So it's not being eliminated, we're
Right.
just taking a phrase out that specified that this 25 acres of forest land, if it was not classified as forest land, would be classified as open space. It is considered open space regardless. We're not changing the intention or
Exactly.
we're just striking out.
I just have the question, why change anything? That is my point. I stood up here way over.
We are,
We're not
that's the whole point.
It
that
wasn't
we're taking
presented
out
as
because
planning
it's
and zoning.
changing it.
It's something that I had put in because I thought it needed to be there, but now we're deciding that it doesn't need to be as a board. And we're gonna continue.
But
Point of order,
qualifies you to
point
make
of order, please. Point of order. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion and I'm gonna read the way I want. The way we're agreeing that it's going to be presented back to the planning and zoning for the plan of conservation and development. This is all gonna be put in an ordinance and you can certainly come and vote it down if you like. Land in all zoning districts of Thompson is eligible for consideration. That's all districts. The minimum area eligible for classification as open space shall be 3 acres of vacant or undeveloped land. In the town of Thompson, the following land types shall be eligible for open space classification. Land meeting the minimum acreage threshold, which is completely unimproved and undeveloped. In cases where a parcel includes portions which contain a residential dwelling or commercial building, the 3 acre minimum shall be land in excess of any portion containing such structure. That portion shall be calculated at a minimum as the area of a single building lot within that zone. Land set aside under the open space requirement for a subdivision or a conservation subdivision shall not be eligible for enrollment in PA 490 because such land is to be preserved permanently as open space as described in the subdivision regulations of the town of Thompson. I make that motion that this is the language we send back to planning and zoning for the plan of conservation and development. I make that motion.
All right, I will second it.
Now we're up for discussion.
Now we're open for discussion.
This is strictly for the P O C D.
Exactly, not the ordinance.
So even with this, with the P O C D, you can leave in the forest land. It has no effect. The ordinance here, when we go to town meeting, is the main criteria.
Right, but I think
The P O C D is our guide of the wish list of where, as a town, we want to go and,
right.
you know, in the planning and conservation of the town. So going with the way this thing is written for that is not an issue. It's P O C D.
Well, you're right.
Okay.
But again, trying to stay as close to 1979 as possible, that wasn't
In the
in
original.
the original.
I mean,
No, I'm just
I
saying.
don't know.
And that's something that I added that wasn't in because I thought it should
You added
be there. And clearly, as we're
I
discussing,
added that piece in.
It
So
was-
that forest
it
land,
wasn't initially presented by planning and zoning or ag.
but it is in the
There was a slight
Where's the
reference
one that,
to,
where's the one that we got from?
P&Z.
P&Z. I ain't got that.
That's the piece
I
that
can
you
just
got
copy
here.
that.
Take this one. Mine
I
is,
have it at home.
mine is here somewhere. I just put it aside.
no, I didn't, but I need that. Well, I can probably find it.
Here's my code. So they did not have forest land in it.
So if you go with,
Keeping
if
as
you go with
simple.
what ag does and what P and Z went to, it's fine.
Well, we have a
Because it
motion
doesn't-
to
it
approve.
We have a
Yeah.
motion, we've been discussing keeping it closer to this, that is not, that doesn't reference. That is
That is
that
totally
has two lines
changing
that are completely
what was in the 1979.
79. All we want to do is honor what was written in 1979, period.
Well, basically, we're not.
Right.
And that's what we're
Basic
saying.
doesn't,
We're
you're
very,
changing it when you say
this
basically with us.
changed it.
If you.
We're trying to bring it back to
Exactly
what
it is.
this says, the 1979.
But don't add, don't subtract.
We didn't.
They did it.
They
We did it.
They are undoing it.
Because what they're saying is true, because where my house is, that's our full taxes, and then the rest of our property is in open space where nothing is. And that's what she just read, and that's what it's saying. So your land will be fine.
Yeah.
No, I've got other issues. Are you accepting it, are you accepting Valerie's proposals or what she wrote? That came directly?
I don't
from
know
the
what Valerie
commission?
wrote. All I have is P and Z, and I have the one that we have proposed, and it matches what happened in 1979. And that's all I'm hearing is keep it at 79. We have a motion on the floor, though.
Yeah.
So,
More discussion. I want to honor 1979. I want the language,
right,
I want the language in the plan of conservation and develop to mimic, and then the ordinance will do the same. And that's what we're
and
charged
just
to
for
do tonight.
clarification, this is just part of the ordinance that goes to the review committee to put together the
Right.
rest of the language of the ordinance that we are approving tonight, which then comes back to us or P and Z.
The ordinance will come back to us. P and Z, the only thing going back to P and Z is this criteria that we
This
set
criteria.
tonight for the P O C D. We'll go back to planning and
Okay.
zoning.
And
And
then,
then we'll get started on the ordinance. That'll come before the Board of Selectmen, which we'll be able to present to the public before we send it to town.
and then it will go to town meeting to be voted
Yeah,
on.
and potentially,
So
if-
this is not an end all. This isn't where, there's more of a process. Just so you're all, we're not
Right.
Okay, I'm fine with this, with what we've done here, with taking out the forest part.
Who actually approved the POC? Was it?
Planning and
POC?
zoning.
Even if we give this back to them, they still can modify us,
This was the final step.
but they still have a right to.
Well, they could. They are
They would have to
separate.
send it
They're
back
under their
out.
own jurisdiction.
No, they have
No,
the final
no,
say.
they could have the final.
Okay,
They have the
all right,
final-
so,
Correct.
yeah, let's just.
All right, any other discussion on this? Okay, all in
Okay, this
favor?
one-
Oh, yep.
Sorry, this one was written off of the,
It was written off of planning and zoning.
Off this.
It was
And that's the
pulled
original.
from
Which is
what
off
was
of this,
presented,
okay.
but it was slightly refined to honor 1979. Keep it simple.
Okay.
All right, all in favor of approving the POCD language criteria for PA 490 open space, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes. All right. So agenda item 13,
she's still there.
Director of Planning and Development. Kara, are you still there?
I sure am.
Oh, great. Is things quiet where you are now or still rocking?
Well, I'm at the gym, but I'm in the office at the gym, so it's a little quieter. But the sound quality from the room is much worse than it was last time.
And you mean for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm working with Bryce tomorrow. We should have a whole new audio set up for the Board of Finance meeting and commission meeting. So hopefully we have that done by tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Bryson this afternoon with the equipment. So happy to address this in whatever way you like. Last time I just kind of encapsulated the memo for you guys, which I can certainly do again and take questions. Before we do that, I just want to address, and I couldn't hear which fire chief it was.
Chief Goodrow.
Okay, so just in terms of the current commitment of where those ARPA funds are leveraged into a grant, my expectation right now is that we will hear toward the end of April or beginning of May about whether we have received that particular grant, which is the DEC Connecticut Communities Challenge Grant. If we are not successful in that, I would say this, I mean, the Board of Selectmen is going to have to decide in general how to recommit that roughly 330,000, I think it ends up being, in otherwise undedicated funds. I would say that support of the departments would be consistent with the priorities that were identified in the public engagement session that we did. That particular issue, in other words, bringing equipment into the departments in general, was not on the table at the time. But given the feedback that we had at that, I would say that support of needs for the fire departments would definitely sort of meet community priorities that were identified. So, you know, just something to consider once we hear that.
So, can I just ask, because Terry, you were on the agenda at our last meeting, right?
Yeah, I came in on this one instead of the second monthly meeting, which would have been a space out of about a month, because the PA 490 was on the agenda. So if you had any questions for me, it made sense to be available to you. So it just moved it up.
All right. Well, I appreciate that you are available to us and that you were here to answer any questions on that 490. But I don't know that, has anything actually changed since we talked 2 weeks ago?
Not much. I mean, there's always incremental changes. Let me just, I've got my memo here pulled up on my desktop, so or my laptop while I'm here. So I just want to see if there's anything super different, which I would, well, the most significant development, I would say, is a little more motion on the possibility of submitting for a federal, what they're calling the middle mile broadband grants. The Fed is kind of throwing money in the air with both hands, particularly for rural communities to develop. So we do have a preliminary proposal from a company based in Plainfield, Certex, for doing a municipal broadband loop. The rough footprint would be from where Route 12 and 200 meet, up to where 12 splits off to Buckley Hill, and up Buckley Hill and down 200, essentially creating a municipal utility, which would be lower cost for residents. It's all very much in play right now. But the other piece of that is a development is, I think you guys here all know that the 150 acre parcel that is attached to the Quinn's Shirt Shop transaction, that deal has essentially been finalized for that new owner, and he is very interested in having broadband accessible for what is going to be that future development. And he also has a company that he works with to do just that. So it appears that we're going to be able to develop a partnership to not just form the proposal, but also bring a grant into the Fed. And we're going to be talking about that more in the coming days. I've got an appointment on Thursday, a con call set up with the local company, Certex. And then following that, I think we're going to be having another con call with all of the interested parties to see, you know, how good of an application we can put together. So that's pretty, that's going to be pretty significant. I'm sure you guys are all aware, you know, we get a couple of different general complaints. One is that we've got terrible cell coverage, but the other is the availability of true high-speed broadband in the downtown loop. And it really hampers the possibility for business development down there. So if this is successful, that is that's a real positive for anybody looking to develop, you know, particularly a business in the downtown core.
Why is it just limited to the downtown? Is it
Build out costs mostly.
without costs? Okay. And is
Yeah,
any
but
state
the
cost?
way it would be constructed, as I understand it, and I am sort of interpreting what I understand of this, is that those nodes that they build into that system can be built off of at a later time. So it could be that you could gradually, incrementally get further out into the community if, you know, the opportunity presents itself. So it isn't necessarily building an entirely closed system. It is a system with defined edges, but that can still be built off of later.
And there would never be a cost to the town?
It is, well, I have to look at the whole proposal. It is intended to pay for itself and be self-sustaining, because it would be a municipal utility, right? But offered at a reduced cost than a private utility would offer. But I myself am learning how all these pieces fit together. So, you know, I don't want to presume that I understand all the facts about that yet. This is, I mean, it's exciting, but I'm learning as I go as well.
Okay.
Terry, you said it's going to be a public, a municipal utility.
Effectively, yeah.
So that means the town has the control and maintenance and upkeep of that utility.
The way I understand it, and again, I'm learning this as I go, is that there are several options for the way it could be set up. And at least one of these two companies that is involved in developing this proposal has the ability essentially to stay on the back end, or they could potentially turn it over if the town wanted to take it over entirely. But again, my understanding of it is not like airtight. So, you know, I will give more information about that as I understand it better with each conversation.
Tara, I think last time we spoke, you were going to meet with the building committee?
Did we say, I mean, I certainly generally would like to on any of these.
No?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you were talking about the 65 Main, I think specifically.
No, I thought it was in regard to the tracker. You were going to meet with the building committee. Am I wrong on that? Am I imagining that? Yeah.
I think we just both came away from that last meeting with a different idea. So,
All right, sorry, my bad.
That's okay. I'd be happy to meet with the building committee. I don't necessarily know when they're meeting on that.
I honestly don't know where I got that from. So can you meet with, can you discuss? One of the things I think that I had asked about was grant funding for the track, didn't I? Or was that something I was going to ask and I didn't? I apologize.
No, well, we have the ARPA funds committed, and I don't think we've looked beyond that yet for implementation. It's certainly going to be appropriate to look for grants for implementation once the design process is complete.
Okay, and one thing I think I had, I know, we talked a little bit about the fire stations and you were going to try to set up a meeting with them. How are you doing with that? It sounded to me,
yeah, Amy set something up, and I think off the top of my head, it's near the end of this month. Is that right, Amy?
It was supposed to be April 28th. That's what we had agreed on, but 2 of the chiefs can't make it, and the other 5 don't want to meet without the other 2. Without the other 2. So that's why when I was talking to Steve, I thought, well, you know, maybe we bring them in one at a time and really talk needs, and then come up with some type of a consensus as what the greater need is for all of them, and then try to do some type of grant for the entire town for all 5 departments potentially. But we're still we're batting around some dates. Steve Boudreau and Matt Brower have been most responsive. I'm just waiting to hear some confirmation from a couple of the other chiefs. So, but it's not going to be April 28th. But I'll check with you as soon as I get a consensus from them, and we'll see what works for your schedule.
Yeah, that works great. And I generally have the ability to be pretty flexible, particularly if we can do it obviously during office hours. But I have some uncommitted evenings here and there as well. Just in terms of what you're suggesting, I do know that it is possible on some of these fire equipment grants for multiple firehouses to go in together, both to get sort of better, I guess you'd say, bulk pricing. And I believe, and it's been a while since I attended one of these grant workshops for the fire equipment grants, but I believe that showing partnership works just as well for those kinds of grants as they do for any other grants. Often, the more cooperative partners you have, the more favorable those applications look. So that's probably a good strategy.
Yeah. All right.
I'm good.
Thank you, Tara.
Sure. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks.
Have a good night. All right, agenda item 14. I sent you.
Yeah, I got a chance to look at it today.
Yeah.
Because it got sent Monday.
Mhm.
I went over the proposal. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Okay, what are some of your questions?
They have different numbers for different things. They talk about things differently. The horn strobe, how many CO detectors, different things of that, because I kind of put something quickly together. And
Quickly?
yeah. And you know, they all put down a control panel. They all put down the communicator.
Mhm.
Okay, one's got a smoke detector at the control panel, one doesn't, and the other one says, I'm giving you 4 smoke detectors.
Right. Well, I know.
You know, that's what I'm saying. We're not getting the same information because
Mhm.
that has an effect on where the bottom line comes down to, because you almost need to have the building official and the fire marshal look at this to say, yes,
Jamie-
they're covering the bases.
Jamie has been involved with the process and actually suggested the other two and worked directly with them and answered questions for them and will be part of, so Jamie has been very active. Jamie did the walkthrough initially with Venture. Jamie brought and recommended these
They
other
went through
two
the-
companies and answered questions for them. And I would highly, I would insist that Jamie be there during the installation to do
Oh, I have no
inspections.
problem with that. I'm just
Right.
trying to figure out,
And
you know,
we tried to
what
make
we-
sure that they knew exactly what, Jamie spoke to both of them as far as what was required. There is a huge, huge difference in prices between one.
oh, without a doubt. I
With-
mean, just on warranty, just on the yearly maintenance, there's a variety of numbers here.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I'm not, that's why I'm not talking about which one.
Right.
I'm just looking at trying to compare that, okay, they're giving us something more than what we actually need. And I don't, I definitely need to talk with Jamie
You
or
want to talk to
whatever
Jamie?
to figure out how they came about with their units and the COs and one at each door, and how come one's got them at the bathroom, one doesn't have them at the bathroom? You know, what is actually required?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of open end, and that can have an effect on which one we choose here,
Right.
that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges.
I think the biggest thing is one of the quotes didn't actually discuss where things were going. Is that what you're saying for the most part? Because,
I went through it. And, yeah, that was part of one of them. You know, I kind of, looking at the others, I kind of got an idea what the intent was for certain detectors and, you know, that type of stuff. You know, one of them was talking about putting in the break room. Another one has nothing about the break room.
right.
You know, does
Well,
it need to be in the break room?
I
It
can
doesn't need to be.
specifically say the carbon monoxide detector is the only thing, there's only one, it's going in the break room. Because that's in the shop and when they're hanging out or napping, when they get a chance in between runs during a storm, we need to know that there's no, between storms, when they're in
I
between
didn't
runs.
think that that's where you were supposed to put a carbon monoxide detector, but who am I? No, I thought you're supposed to put it so many feet from your furnace or wherever the carbon monoxide might be manifested, but I don't know, I'm not a.
Yeah, that was on the recommendation of Jamie.
So, I mean,
Well, out of my,
I
a little
can't-
impartial.
I would not be
No.
comfortable making the decision. at
That's
this
fine,
point.
absolutely fine, no
Just from
worries.
the
Yeah,
stuff that I'm
I-
looking at.
I didn't go through it like you did, obviously, but it did definitely two different, very, very different.
Some are very similar, some are using different language
Right.
for the same thing.
Well, two are similar. I thought one is very, very different.
Yeah.
So. And I had some questions, and that company did not get back to me yet on some of the questions that I had for them. On specifically their yearly inspection and maintenance. And on the, no, actually, they had that. That was my biggest question. Was what their yearly inspection and maintenance.
Well,
was going to be.
they all had monitoring.
Monitoring, they all had
Uh,
monitoring.
yeah.
One of them I had to call to get the
2 out of
monitoring
the 3
first.
had warranty.
Right,
Uh,
But-
You know, one using the scissor lift,
right,
you know, and there's cost there, the school has one. I mean, there's different ways of doing things.
right.
You know, the inspections, you know, one didn't, 2 did. You know, so there was some things needed to
Right.
to
Well-
clarify.
Happy, Jamie has all the quotes, so you can always, he'll be able to answer any questions.
I'll
So-
give Jamie a call, so.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, any other business?
That where we're at? Oh, yeah, other business. I don't have anything.
And do you have any other business? I don't have any other business. We'll move on to agenda item 6, citizen comments. Floor is open for citizen comments.
Dave Clark, 105 Elm Road. One of the problems that I've been having, in various committees, is they move forward without doing all the research. They do some of the research. I've attended all the ag meetings and the planning and zoning meetings. I'm not a member of any commission, but I attended all of them and listened to all the discussion as this formulated. And the reason that the forest, it's not forest land, was put in was because people have small parcels of woodland. The reason for certain buildings that weren't dwellings put in is because people have small agricultural, but they don't qualify as farmland. And it was decided at one of the planning and zoning meetings that anybody, if you can do it on a farm and still qualify as farm open space, you should be able to do it on private property and still qualify as open space. By you removing that in your proposed thing, and this is why they altered that from the 1979 thing. Now, had you, before saying we want to go back to 1979, because that's what everybody wants, asked members of those committees, you would have found out why they did this. The two most contentious things that I've seen in this town in the last 2 years are the shooting and the chickens. So let's take chickens. I decide I'm going to raise some chickens. I go down to Runnings and I purchase their minimum order of 15 chickens. I go home, I flush 5 of them down the toilet or feed them to my cats, which as long as they don't slaughter them, that's okay. Now I have 10 chickens. I want to house them. I need a place for them, keep them safe from weasels and foxes. So I build a chicken coop that would be smaller footprint than that table, but I pay a $100 permit to build this. Now I keep the chickens. A weasel still gets in, kills 5 of them. I want to replace it. I have to go back to Runnings and buy 15 more chickens. That, unless I want guinea hens, that's a 20 or 25 number. The research wasn't done. Chickens are sold in groups of 6, but the research wasn't done. But now, if you remove this building thing and I build this coop that's smaller than this footprint, I now have built on my property. I'm no longer space. But if I'm a farm, I can have 10,000 chickens and build a coop to that, and I'm still open space. Same thing with the forest. If I don't have a large enough tract of forest to be considered forest land, I can say, yeah, I'm going to take this woods and make it and say that's open space, which is fine. But if I have a forest, I can do timber operations on it. But with the unbuilt and undeveloped, is some assessor going to come in if I have a woodlot that's say 10 acres and I'm harvesting that to heat my home? And he comes in and some assessor comes in and says, oh, you cut down trees, that's developed, it's no longer open space. The homework's not done. The research is not done. The reason those were put in were to specifically cover those types of situations. To say no building at all takes away from the small agricultural thing that doesn't qualify as a farm. That's all I'm saying. That's why they were there. Thank you for your time.
Gavin Paquette, 36 Terrace Drive. Thank you guys for your time and showing up and everything. I just sitting here, just seeing what's going on, trying to attend different meetings, and I just think the biggest problem in town right now is just trust with what we got going on right now. We were running in this certain way for however many years, and now everything's changed, especially since the pandemic. And I think the biggest issue right now that nobody in here trusts you guys, and you guys don't trust us, and that's the biggest problem we have right now in town. And I just hope that we can foster new trust within the town. That's all I gotta say.
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. Is it possible for us to get a copy of what you voted on?
Oh, absolutely.
And is that possible to get that tonight?
Yes.
Okay, that would be helpful because it was hard to follow through the meeting. Other than that, because it was hard to follow, I'm not clear on what changed. And so my only other comment at this moment is I want to thank you for moving this process forward. I'm pleased because I did not hear some of the words that I heard early on in the process and maybe at the last selectmen's meeting that were very upsetting. So I'm happy to have not heard that. I appreciate Ms. Beausoleil's comments about the forest land because it is open space and that was one of the items that had been discussed at Ag Commission. Is that the word qualify was going to be contentious. And so that was why forest land of any parcel size was considered for the open space over 3 acres. So just wanted to thank you for moving that forward. And I hope that we will continue to not hear the contentious words around the open space and get everybody back to level where they were 3 or 4 years ago, and everyone was working in the open space program and happy, and the town was benefiting. Thank you.
Hey, Nadine Williams Edwards, I'm sorry, she had her hand up.
Yeah, hi, 131 Spicer Road. I wanted to circle back on the topic that was brought up at the last meeting regarding getting a list of the in-flight and or being entertained grants. I understand that there was some concern from some of the selectmen that we had so many on the table as well. And with the budget coming up, I think it's really important that we understand what the long-term hooks may be or the requirements to some of the grants. And I would love to see an itemized list if we could get that available. And I was wondering if anyone could talk to the progress on that and or who's leading that and or how we could kind of frame that and find out when we could get that. And I apologize if that was already mentioned and been socialized.
Nadine, I'm sorry, I just want to be clear, you're looking for a list of the grants that have been applied for?
Does she want Tara's update? That she sends us?
Suzanne, you said that you were gonna reach out, I thought, to get a list that you could share with us, with the citizens of what that I'd like to see. I think it makes sense for us to see what we already signed up for and what we're entertaining so that we can understand what the long-term budgetary numbers up may be for maintaining, for instance, the resource center and so forth. Do we have a list of when we accept a grant, what the long-term cost of that is going to be to the town? And do we bake that into the budget cycles? And do we know what that number looks like?
Recently, we did we have the site, well, not recently, it's been a little while now, the sidewalk project. But there's the natural, we are responsible for sidewalks. That's just repair and replacement, not new sidewalks.
But can you email Nadine the last?
Yeah.
I think there's been 3 updates from Tara on what she's working on and that kind of, and the grants that she's applied for and the grants that she's looking to apply for. Nadine, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and or make it available on the town website so that anyone can look at it. I know that other people have the same interest. If we could make that available, that we could see what we're signing up for and, what the benefits are and or potentially some, visibility into the longer term, what it means to the budget, potentially.
That's not put in the minutes?
But the ramifications, the
No,
long-term.
no, Tara's report.
I guess what I'm asking for though,
When the minutes are posted, aren't they, doesn't that get attached? Her report that is emailed to us?
All documents should be.
Right,
online.
right.
Well,
But-
okay, but I guess what I'm asking for, and maybe I wasn't clear last time, I thought that we were clear on that, is that a list? Do we not keep an inventory
Yes.
that's separate?
Yeah,
Tara can put that
Yes.
together.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, some of it could be just the brownfield grants that we've gotten, the economic development
the
grants.
report that she
You know,
gives us.
some of it is,
So we're
does not
happy,
cost us anything.
we will provide that for you, Nadine, and have it available for the public. And then if you have any other questions, you could certainly let me know.
Sure, thank
Or
you,
any of the selectmen and Tara.
thank you.
Got a
Thanks.
particular grant, we can answer questions.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
if it isn't there.
All right,
Just my concerns is, I know about the wording and everything, and I understand it from when we opened ours. My only concerns is if I put my, home in my open space in a trust, is it gonna be coming out of open space? Or if me, and my husband die, and my children come and live in my house, will the rest of the land in open space still be in open space?
Just Paul.
I think, is Paul still here?
Yeah, he's
That would
still
be a question for Paul.
And I just want to say, I'll turn and talk to him. I know being on committees are not easy. And then when people went up for citizens, it's hard. And I want to commend you because you at least listened to us tonight. You gave us time and a thing where I was very impressed because at the other boards, I haven't. And so I want to commend you on at least giving us courtesy to speak. Because when you don't feel like you're being listened to, that's where a lot of frustrations and upset can come. But I want to say, I felt at least you were listening to me here tonight, and I thank all three of you for at least doing that. That made me feel better for my selectmen, at least is interested in what we have to say. And I appreciate you doing it, because it's not an easy job being on a committee. It really isn't. And so I thank you very much for at least being considerate and listening to us tonight. I really appreciate
Thank you.
that.
We appreciate those words. Ray Williams had his hand up in the virtual. Ray?
Yeah, I want to go back to on the grant thing. It would be nice to know what the fine print says on them grants to see what the town is going to be liable for in years to come. Because they're not just giving us that money with nothing that the town has to do for upkeep. So it would be nice that more than just one person knows what the fine print in them grants are.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Boulay. I live at 564 Thompson Road, Thompson, Connecticut. And my question was, now I got a will. Is that the same as a living trust? Or do I have to get a living trust so my son gets the house when I die?
I am not an attorney, but.
And another question is, with the price of food, I understand why people want to, they're not considered a farmland, but they want to have a bigger garden because they want to grow more vegetables because everything is so expensive at the stores. Are we allowed to have a garden on our property?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't matter if it's small, big, okay, because it's not, I don't have farmland, I only have a little over half acre.
Right.
But, I want to grow as much as I can because, like I said, everything is so expensive. Buy a head of lettuce used to be 99 cents. Now you get one for $3.99. But like this,
Yeah.
we used to get a bigger one for 99 cents.
Mhm.
So that's why I
Right.
just wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything wrong.
No,
That talent to grow.
Hi, Wayne O'Brien, 108 Baby Road. Is there a possibility that this committee can turn around and make sure the other committees have the minutes to the meetings accurately? Keep them accurately, because at the planning and zoning, we were told we don't have to do that. All we have to do is vote, period. And you know what? That offends me because we're spending thousands of dollars to have somebody take the minutes of the meeting to have them all edited. And I mean, if the chairman is the person editing the minutes, you know what? I don't know what's going on. You? I mean, I don't think you're trying to do that with your secretary, are you?
I don't actually see the minutes until Dottie completes them.
But the minutes of the meeting should be the minutes of the meeting. Every word that's being spoken should be not, well, FOI says, and according to you, all we have to do is do the vote. That's it. That's all we have to record.
That is all we have to
That's what he
record.
said. Well, that's fine, but you know what? That's not acceptable to me as a taxpayer. I'm paying for that person to take the minutes of the meeting to do it accurately. Is there an enforcement way to make sure all the departments are doing that?
That's why we get recordings.
All of, they're recorded
I'm
better
talking-
than ever.
I totally understand all that. You know what? A lot of things got changed on Zoom in the last 2 years.
There
Maybe we
used to
should be
be a
able to
hand,
vote on Zoom without being a registered voter.
it used to be a handheld recorder, and that was kept on.
Many meetings, I saw
Right.
it there,
Yeah,
but the minutes of the meeting were kept accurately by the secretary. She took that home and she took it off that. I understand that. These people are not doing that. And I don't know if you're aware of that. They're not doing
your
that.
comment. Thank you. Any other citizen comments?
Me, of course. Brenda, Romanek, 131 Passay Road. I would, like Donna Austin said, I'd like to thank you for your time. Honestly, I would not want to be on any one of these commissions, and I do respect all the volunteers that work really hard, put time in. But I also want to point out, and I hope it appears in the minutes, because that is a problem for me as well, that I've made many, many comments at these meetings, and they are never in the minutes. Maybe they're alluded to, but, once again, if you really want to open things up and have people see and hear what's being said, which everybody in town has a right to, it should be realistic. And someone is editing the minutes, obviously, and that is a problem. But moving forward, just so you're aware that that's happening, the meetings are being edited, so that when, by the time it gets on the website, they're not seeing exactly what happened. So I think that's a problem. Now, going back to the commissions in the open space, I just want to leave you with this thought. Valerie and her husband, first of all, the amount of research that she did into the PA 490, I cannot even tell you, massive amount of research. And I want to point out, there are some of us in this town, that people are saying we're troublemakers and all that. This is a prime example. You guys had to change a word. You had to change it. You couldn't just accept Valerie's proposal. Do you understand how people get offended by that? And let's forget that we're offended, but I hope you realize what they just told you about the forest and the little building and this and that. It all makes a difference. And that's what has happened to 150 pages of our zoning regulations that we have been reading and looking at and realizing that one word makes a huge difference. So if you're not qualified, honestly, I know you guys can make decisions and you're authorized to, but you're not really qualified to be making a decision on the wording for something like that, when this woman did countless hours of research. And plus somebody in 1979 did so too. So can't do anything about it now, but I just want to point out, this is why the crazy people are out. I'm incensed that Suzanne, who didn't know anything about open space until 3 weeks ago, just said, oh, I'm going to vote for that. We changed a couple words. That is what is making the crazy people come up. Because it's almost like
It's because of me, Brenda, I know.
it's almost like you have to win.
And you gotta read it to understand what we did, and then I think it will make more sense. But I think like Valerie said, it's hard to understand We looked at the old reg and we looked at the new reg
Suzanne,
and what was
you didn't
written.
even know what PA 490 was at the last meeting, so I'm really not
Brenda,
taking it
don't
from you.
underestimate me.
Here's the thing.
Don't underestimate me
I'm
and don't
trying to
assume.
make a point that you guys are not the authority on these things. And you act like you are. That is why half the town is in an uproar, whether it be behind your backs or not. That is why. Just this small little example right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor is still open for citizen comments. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 17, tax refunds. I make a motion that we refund Cynthia M. Damaris, $112.58, Christine Sikorsky, $8.21, Toyota Lease Trust, $366.26, and Richard F. and Alex C. Belinsky, $23.80, for a total of $510.85 in tax refunds. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on those tax refunds? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will be moving into executive session tonight. Yeah. I'm gonna go get that for you right now, before we make the motion to move in. Oh, of course. Yeah. We want to just go into Cindy's office?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen go into executive session at 9:17 PM. I will stop the recording.
To write it
Just
down.
write it down. We're adjourned.
We came out of executive session at 9:31 PM. That is the last thing on the agenda. I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 9:31 PM.
Second.
Ken has the second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.